All right, let's dive in. Today, we're not just looking at what happens on the pitch for 90 minutes. We're going deeper into a battle that's being fought for the very soul of football itself. We're going to explore three massive challenges that are fundamentally changing the game from the inside out.
First, just take a look at this number, $3,945. Let that sink in. What do you think that is? A weekly wage for a lower league player? The cost of some fancy new equipment? Nope. That's the average ticket price for the final of the 2026 World Cup.
And that staggering number brings us straight to our first huge issue, the absolutely incredible escalating cost of just being a fan. You have to ask, are the game's most passionate supporters, the lifeblood of the sport, being priced out of the very stadiums they fill with life? That was the immediate reaction from the Football Supporters Association. And think about that word. They didn't say concerning. They didn't say disappointing. They said astonishing. It's a word that just perfectly captures the level of shock that's rippling through the entire fan community.
Okay, so let's break this down because these numbers are just wild. These are the official ticket prices for the final. The best seats, almost $7,000. But get this, look at Category 4, the so-called cheap seats. We're talking over $2,000. By a country mile, this is the most expensive World Cup ever. And here's the real kicker. It's not just about one ticket. If you're a dedicated fan who wants to follow your team all the way to the final, you'd have to fork over more than $3,000 up front before a single ball is even kicked. That's more than double what it cost in Qatar. And there are real fears that the traditional fan sections, the ones behind the goals that create that incredible atmosphere, could just disappear because of these prices. So it brings up a pretty obvious question, right? If fans are paying more than they ever have and the game is swimming in cash, then surely the athletes, the stars of the whole show, they must be secure and well paid. Well, the reality is a lot more complicated than that. And this brings us right to our second big challenge. Let's call it the player's paradox. It's this strange world where you have record-breaking revenue on one hand and a deeply risky, unstable reality for thousands of professional players on the other. First, let's just set the stage. The money flowing through European football is staggering. We're talking billions upon billions every single year. The big leagues are constantly smashing their own commercial records. The game has never, ever been richer. But then you see a number like this, 27.2 million euros. According to the Global Players Union, FIFPro, that's the total amount of unpaid wages owed to players from just 56 clubs that went bust in Greece alone over a decade. This isn't just a one-off, it's a symptom of a much bigger problem. This is what experts call precarious employment. For every superstar on a massive contract, there are thousands and thousands of other players just trying to get paid on time, dealing with unstable contracts, and lacking basic protections. That glamorous image of a pro footballer, it just doesn't apply to most of them. Spyros Neophytidis from FIFPro Europe really put it perfectly. The wealth is absolutely there, but it's just not trickling down to create basic job security for the very people who play the game.
So we have pressure on fans, and we have pressure on players. And both of these are really symptoms of an even bigger trend, football's growing entanglement with global politics and power. Which brings us to our third challenge, the beautiful game finding itself on the front lines of some very complex moral debates.
Now look, sports and politics have always been mixed. This isn't some new phenomenon. FIFA suspended South Africa over its apartheid regime all the way back in 1961. And just a couple of years ago, FIFA and UEFA moved within days to suspend Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. But the current calls for a ban on Israel, well, that presents a really significant and complex challenge for the sports leaders. So, let's just lay out the justifications being presented here. The action against Russia was swift and was justified by the full-scale invasion of a sovereign country. The calls to ban Israel, on the other hand, are based on arguments from legal experts and human rights groups. They cite a UN panel's findings, the killing of hundreds of Palestinian footballers, and the destruction of football infrastructure in Gaza. It raises a really difficult question about consistency for the people who govern the sport. So how do all these things connect? Are we talking about three separate problems here, or are they all symptoms of a much deeper struggle? A struggle for the very identity of football? Well, when you lay it all out like this, you can really start to see the connections. You've got fans being squeezed by the commercial side of the game. You've got players being left behind by that exact same commercial engine. And the whole global structure of the sport is being tested by forces way bigger than anything that happens on a football pitch.
Which leads us really to the ultimate question, the one that's sitting right at the heart of all these issues. At the end of the day, who does this game truly belong to?
I think this quote from Alexander Bielefeld at FIFPro really hits the nail on the head. He says, this isn't a problem of resources. The game is richer than ever. It's a problem of will. It's about deciding what we want the sport to actually stand for. So as football gets bigger and richer and more complex than we could have ever imagined, we're left with this one crucial question. Who is responsible for protecting its soul? Is it the governing bodies, the clubs, the players, or is it the fans? The answer to that is what will define the future of the beautiful game.